Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. My name is Jason, and we're in the kitchen today. It's stinking hot outside. Every time we get peaches, it winds up being extraordinarily hot. It's always over 90 degrees when we're working on peaches, so it's always a great idea to make a beautiful homemade ice cream with it. So today, Angela Kay's got an awesome homemade basil peach ice cream, peach basil ice cream, whatever you want to call it. I think it's peach basil. Okay, basil peach, peach basil. I'm not sure which way is better, but peach basil ice cream, homemade peach basil ice cream. So I'm gonna turn it over to her and let her take care of this.
So first thing we need to do is macerate the peaches, because you want to get that peach juice to make your ice cream base into a peach ice cream base instead of just a vanilla ice cream base with some peach chunks in it. So you want to start with 3 large peaches that are ripe. Now, if you don't have large ones and all you have is medium to small, use about 4. And I've peeled them and cut them into slices. Now to this, we are going to add about a half teaspoon to a teaspoon of lemon juice. This is just to keep from them darkening. You don't need much, just stir it around with them. You don't need a whole lot. You don't want it to flavor everything with lemon. You just want a little to keep them from darkening. And to that, we are going to add about a half a cup of sugar. Now normally I use maple syrup in my homemade ice cream instead of sugar, but you cannot really macerate fruit very well in maple syrup, so I am using sugar because it will draw out more juices out of the peaches. So you want to stir that around and let all the sugar get mixed in. Now you want to leave this, you want to cover it with plastic wrap, leave it sit while you make the ice cream base. And by the time you get the ice cream base done, it should be nicely macerated and ready to go. Now we're over here at the stove and we're going to start the ice cream base. Now for this, you want 5 large egg yolks, which is what we have here in this pot. You want to break up the yolks so that they mix in really well. Now don't turn your heat on yet, because your egg yolks will start to curdle. So it's very important that you do not turn your heat on yet. And to this, you are going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And you will mix that around so that your sugar and your egg yolks combine really well. Again, do not turn the heat on yet. Otherwise, you will have scrambled sweet eggs. That's not what you want. Most people will tell you to temper in your egg yolks later, once your milk and everything is hot. I do not do it that way. It is a very unnecessary step. As long as you keep your temperature on right and keep it moving, your egg yolks are not going to curdle. So once you've got that all mixed together, you want to add 1 cup of whole milk and 2 cups of heavy cream. You can use 2% milk, but it's not going to be as creamy. So I choose to use whole milk in my ice cream bases because it makes for a much creamier ice cream. Now at this point, I have switched to my little half moon whisk. That's what works best because it can get into the corners of your pot. A regular whisk will work as well, but this can get into the corners much better. Now you want to whisk that all together until you don't feel any more egg yolks on the bottom and you don't feel any more grit from the sugar, and until your milk and cream starts to turn yellow from your egg yolks. That's how you know all of your egg yolks are off the bottom of the pot and not going to curdle, because otherwise you're going to end up with scrambled eggs on the bottom of your pot, and you don't want scrambled egg ice cream. That does not sound like a tasty treat to me. And you want some ice cream right now, especially where we live, because it's hotter than the devil's toenails out there. Now you want to turn your heat on. I am turning mine on about medium, because this is a heavy bottom pot. This is a heavy bottom stainless steel pot. If the pot you are using is not heavy bottom, you will want to keep it on about medium low, because it will not conduct heat as well, and it will add too much heat, and you're at risk of curdling your egg yolks. So you want to keep this moving. Do not stop stirring. That is the key to not curdling the egg yolks. You want to keep it moving constantly until it starts to thicken, till you don't feel any more grit from the sugar in there. That tells you that the sugar is all dissolved. And you want to keep it going until you start to get a little bit of thickness and it starts to get warm. You will know it's ready when you put a spoon in it and it will coat the back of a spoon. I'll show you what it looks like when we're there. Now your ice cream base is all warm. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes depending on how high you have your heat and how heavy bottom your pot is. But and as you can see, I've switched to a silicone spatula. That way I can scrape the bottom really well and make sure that there's no egg sticking to the bottom. And as you can see, it's coating the spoon really well. And if you draw a line, it stays a line instead of folding back on itself. And it's also really warm right now. So now you want to remove it from the heat because you're not making pudding. If you let it go farther, you'll probably get pudding. Okay, now we're going to start infusing our flavor into our ice cream through putting the peach juice in and putting in our basil. You don't want to put the basil in while it's on the heat because your basil will get too strong and start to bitter. You don't want that. You want to add it now while it's in the cool down phase. So what I am choosing to use opal basil. You could probably use just about any kind of basil, but I will tell you the stuff that you use to make pesto, like Genovese or large leaf Italian, ones like that, may be a little strong for an ice cream base. It may overpower the peach a little much, so you may want to use less. This is probably it's a good handful. It's probably about a half cup of loosely packed basil leaves, and I'm just roughly tearing them. I'm not being real precise. I'm just roughly tearing them up just to break up the oils so that way the oils are released a little more. You just want to roughly tear them. Now I'm using opal basil because it's a little more fruity. You could probably use sweet basil, which you can readily find that in the store this time of year. In any grocery store, you can readily find sweet basil. If you are growing any of the tea basils like I am, you could definitely use blue spice or any of those. But if you can't find opal, I would say your best bet would probably be sweet basil. Now we are going to dump all that basil in to our warm base. Like I said, you do not want to add this on the stove. Your basil will start to get overheated. It will start to become a little bit bitter, and it will bring out the flavor so much it could overpower your base. So now while that is sitting, I will show you what we do with the peaches. Now you want to stir up your peaches. You can see that it's created a lot of juice. You want that juice. Now I have a strainer here over a measuring cup. You want to strain those peaches and you want to get that syrup. You want to get as much of that syrup as possible because that's what's going to make your ice cream base be peach basil, not just basil vanilla with some peach chunks. Because that's what you're going to end up with if you don't do this step. So you want to leave this to strain about 5 minutes, which will also give your ice cream base a good chance to infuse with that basil. Our peaches have now leached out all their juice, well, most of it, but don't start snacking on those peaches. They are for later for the ice cream, and I'll show you what we do with those in just a minute. Right now you just want to put them back over into the bowl that you macerated them in. And see, now you have all this peach juice left. Now to your ice cream base that your basil is steeping in, you want to add about a teaspoon of vanilla. You guys know I don't measure vanilla, so it's roughly measured. And you want to add your peach syrup. Now you want to stir your peach syrup and your vanilla in. And at this point, You should start to smell a little bit of basil in there and a little bit of peach. But you're going to leave that basil in there the entire time that your base is cooling. So it's going to infuse more. So what I usually do, I like to have my base in something that has a spout. So any like mixing bowl that you have or anything that has a spout, go ahead and pour your base back into that. Now you want to make sure you get all those basil leaves in there. You don't want to leave any behind because that's very important. Now you want to take your plastic wrap and you want to put it directly down on top, because otherwise it's going to create condensation on top of your plastic wrap, which is going to create little ice beads in your ice cream base, which is not going to be very pleasant when you freeze your ice cream. So you want to put it right down on top. Now you can either chill this in the refrigerator for about 4 hours because you want it nice and cold, or you can put this in the freezer for about an hour to 2 hours. Check it after an hour, and it may be cold enough at that point. Depends on your freezer and the settings of your freezer. But at this point you want to, I'm going to put mine in the freezer, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. But before we do that, we have to take care of our peaches. Now we are going to take a potato masher and we are going to mash our peaches into little chunks, because you don't want big peach slices in your ice cream because they will freeze too hard. And it won't be a pleasant experience to try to chomp through a big piece of rock hard frozen peach. You're better off just roughly mashing them. You don't want baby food here. Don't mash them down to baby food, just to the point that they are chunks. About like that. You'll have some big chunks, some little chunks. It's all fine. Now you want to put your plastic wrap back over and put this in the refrigerator until your ice cream base is done, and I will show you at what point you start adding these. Okay, it's been a little over an hour and we're ready to spin our ice cream. It's nice and cold from the freezer, and we're ready to spin our ice cream. Now at this point you want to give your ice cream base a good stir, because those basil leaves, you want to give it a good stir. And now with this ice cream maker, this is a Cuisinart. It's the type with the frozen core that you do not need ice and salt for. In my opinion, these are the best. I'll leave a link in the description below to this particular ice cream maker. It may not be the red one. I don't know that they make the red one anymore. So because of the basil leaves, I'm going to put my fine mesh sieve over the base. Now you have to turn it on, and I'm going to strain my ice cream base into my maker to get out the basil leaves. Now you want to push it around a little bit to make sure that you have all of it strained out. Now you're going to spin this till it's all ready to go, and of course I'm going to clean up my mess. I'll show you what it looks like when it's soft served, because when it's soft served, that's when you want to add your peaches. So I'll be back and show you what it's like when we're there. Okay, as you can see, it's at a soft serve consistency right now. See, it's holding up, not dripping off the spoon. So it's at a good soft serve consistency. At this point, you want to add your crushed up peaches with the remaining juice. You want to just spoon them in. If you're using this kind of ice cream maker, you can just spoon them in. If you are using the old-fashioned kind that requires salt and ice, you will have to stop it, stir in the peaches by hand, and then put it back in to let it freeze a little bit more, or go ahead and put it in the freezer to finish hardening up. Now it's going to be really full at this point. It's fine. You want it to mix in all those peaches, and you want it to start getting cold on you again. So it's going to take just a few minutes more churning to get it back up to a more soft serve type consistency. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. It's out of the ice cream freezer now, and it has like a loose soft serve consistency. Anytime you add fresh fruit to ice cream, it's going to loosen it up quite a bit. So you pretty much need to put it in the freezer and let it harden up completely. Unless you like it really soft serve. If you like it really soft serve, then go for it like this. So what you need to do, you need to put it in an airtight container, but you need to put either plastic wrap or parchment. I prefer parchment over your ice cream. Push it right down on top. You can even do this with store-bought ice cream. It keeps the ice crystals from getting, those big ice crystals from getting on top of your ice cream. You can even do this little trick with store-bought ice cream, and it works beautifully. It keeps it from getting freezer burnt so easy. Now you want to put a lid on it, put this in the freezer until it hardens up. It'll just take a few hours. Then Jason will taste it and show you how good it is.
All right, look at this beautiful ice cream. I'm excited about it. Wow. Well, quite impressive. It's really cold. Go figure. But that is amazing. Angela Kay has done an amazing job of balancing that basil peach flavor. Because honestly, you could put too much basil in that and it wouldn't be exactly what you're looking for. But she didn't. It's such a beautiful flavor. Opal basil was the right call. That or the blue spice that we have out there would have been perfect because of the flavor, the basil flavor that it added. Again, a sweet basil is doing fine, but opal basil, if you have it or you can find it, that's the way to go. It's really delicious. Got a nice flavor to it. Honestly, just wonderful. Another brilliant piece of work by Angela Kay, and so you guys really just try something like that. Don't be afraid of it because it sounds a little different. It's so good. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That's Angela Kay. It's Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.